nearly 1.4 million people have been displaced ever since the conflict between the two warring generals began. A report released by the UN has revealed, and the report comes as US and Saudi Arabia warn that the conflict is edging towards an escalation. UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs released the report on Sunday. It estimates that overall nearly 1.4 million people have been put out of place due to the battle between Sudan's armed forces and paramilitary rapid support forces. Now, this includes over 800,000 people who have been displaced internally in the African nation. As per the report, the maximum number of people who have been displaced in the capital of Khartoum, which has been the epicenter of the fighting, nearly 650,000 people have been displaced here so far. This is followed by West Darfur, South Darfur, North Darfur, North Kordofan and Central Darfur. A large chunk of people have migrated to neighboring countries as well, like the Central African Republic, Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia and South Sudan. The report also mentions that millions of people remain without access to basic health services. Figures of attacks on health facilities too can be found in the report. Now, the warring factions led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo are currently abiding by a ceasefire, which was brokered in Jeddah just last week. This ceasefire is set to expire tonight. United States and Saudi Arabia called for the extension of the ceasefire on Sunday. The two nations say that both the factions have impeded aid efforts during the ceasefire and are signaling to roll back towards an intense battle. The ceasefire had brought a little relief from the violence as gunfire was heard in the capital of Khartoum on Sunday as well. Many such ill-observed ceasefires have been signed between the two factions in the 6 weeks-old conflict. The mediators are still struggling to produce a prominent and a permanent solution. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Bastian Massa. He's a journalist who is living in Paris at the moment. Welcome to the broadcast. Do you think that the international community could do more than what it is doing at the moment regarding the conflict in Sudan?
Good afternoon. Of course, they could do more. We saw that the initiative from Jeddah, led by the US and Saudi, didn't bring the stability or the security for humanitarian assistance in Sudan. So they need to pressure more on both leaders and both generals to allow humanitarian assistance to be transported, to be distributed safely within Sudan.
Right, Bastian, now how are the countries like Central African Republic, Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia and of course South Sudan reacting to this refugee influx the countries are witnessing?
These countries are taking their share of refugees. In Chad was already, for example, hosting more than 600,000 Sudanese refugees. And now almost 100,000 refugees are coming in the country. I think the main point is those international organization and international community will help this country providing assistance, food, medical assistance, because they will not be able to bear the to take care of all these refugees by themselves. And the second issue is the flood season. The rain season is going to start soon in Sudan and around Sudan, in Chad, for example. So they need to find shelters and they need to provide assistance to face this rainy season.
Right, now there is a ceasefire placed at the moment, but of course we have seen that being time and again violated. But that ceasefire is going to expire tonight. I want to ask you two questions. One, do you think the ceasefire is going to be prolonged by the two warring generals? And two, when and how do you see this conflict ending?
Well, the first question, I think it's not important to know whether it will be extended or not. What is important is to see if the last 7 ceasefire have been respected. And it's not the case. I was talking with Sudanese friends today, and they told me Khartoum is a ghost town, like only fighting and only shooting outside, and nobody is daring to go out in the street. So in some neighborhoods, you start to have like some shops starting to open again, but in most of the city, in most of the country, the situation is not safe. So, and if you have organizations like Doctors Without Borders complaining because their equipment, their vehicles are being looted, which is not respecting what both generals pledged in Jeddah. And for the second question, I honestly don't know, because it's a fight until the death. Like they cannot go back to the same point as before. So one of them, in their mind, I think one of them has to leave. They went too far to the fight to just go back to what was before, the situation before. But maybe we can try to find a way, or international community can try to find a way to find a next exit for example, for Hemeti, and to welcome him in Jeddah or in Saudi. I don't know what can be the solution, but right. International community has to do more and to pressure more to put an end to this fight.
Right, a lot is riding on the international community, as you say. All right, thank you for getting us all those insights, Bastian Massa.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.